Come, have a nice day. Today is Sunday, 30th of June 2024. The International Day of Parliamentarism is celebrated every year on 30 June, the date in 1889 on which the IPO was founded. From the history point of view, the Santhal rebellion, also called the Santhal Hul, was started against the British colonial authority and zamindari system. The Santhal revolt took place in 1855 to 56. Santhals are a tribal group concentrated in the state of Jharkhand. The Battle of Chinhat happened on 30 June 1857. Starting the newspaper analysis with the newspaper, The Hindu states that North Korea condemns drills by United States, Japan, South Korea as Asian NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. This picture taken on 29 June 2024 and released from the North Korea's official Korean Central News Agency via KNS on June 30, 2024 shows that North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un taking part in the second day of the 10th enlarged plenary session of the 8th Central Committee of the Workers' Party of the Korea at an undisclosed location. The latest joint drills involved with Washington's nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt, Tokyo's guided missile destroyer JS Atago, and the Seoul's KF-16 fighter jet. North Korea denounced on June 30 joint military drills by South Korea, Japan, and United States, calling them an Asian version of NATO and warning of fatal consequences. It comes a day after the Allies wrapped up three-day exercises dubbed Freedom Age in a ballistic missile and air defenses, anti-submarine warfare, and defensive cyber training. Mongolian ruling party wins reduced majority in vote dominated by the Graft. Purvi Dilgarnaran, a second left chairman of the General Election Commission of Mongolia, updates journalists on the results of the parliamentary elections in the Ulaanbaatar on June 29, 2024. Mongolia ruling party emerged from this week's polls with the parliamentary majority significantly diminished on June 29, local media said, after a campaign dominated by graft affairs and the state of the economy. Prime Minister Lusain Amsarein Oyen Erdin declared victory early on June 29 morning in the previous day's polls, in which millions of the Mongolians turned out to elect 126 members of the state Great Khural, the country's unicameral parliament. The Hindu newspaper also states that Iran warns Israel of obliterating war if Lebanon attacked it. A woman carries a frame that shows a portrait of the Hezbollah leader Sayyid Hassan Nasrullah as she passes destroyed houses that were hit by Israeli airstrikes in Aita al-Sahab, a Lebanese border village with Israel, South Lebanon on June 29, 2024. The comet from Iran's mission to New York comes with the fears of the wider regional war involving Israel and Lebanon's Iran-backed Hezbollah movement. Iran on June 29 warned that all resistance fronts, a grouping of Iran and its regional allies, would confront Israel if it attacks Lebanon. The comment from Iran's mission to New York comes with the fears of the wider regional war involving Israel and Lebanon's Iran-backed Hezbollah movement. The two sides have engaged in a near daily exchange of fire since the war in Gaza began. Afghan women's rights an internal issue, Taliban says before United Nations-led talks. A Taliban spokesman addresses a press conference in Kabul on June 29, 2024. The Taliban government, which has imposed restrictions on women since seizing power in 2021, that the United Nations has described as a gender apartheid, will send its first delegation to the third round of talks starting in Qatar on June 30. Taliban authorities said on June 29 that demands over women's rights were Afghanistan's issue to solve ahead of a United Nations led engagement talks where the exclusion of the Afghan women has sparked outcry. The Taliban government, which has imposed restrictions on women since its power in 2021, that the United Nations has described as gender apartheid, will send its first delegation to the third round of the talks starting in Qatar on June 30. Going towards the Hindustan Times newspaper states that T20 World Cup India ride on anchor Kohli, Pandya and Surya Stunner. New Delhi an edge of the seat climax, a brilliant catch on the boundary line on the extreme pressure, an unplayable delivery by an unplayable bowler, Manija dropping in 6 wickets and turns all through. What Indian Space Research Organization's chief Dr. S. Somnath said on Sunita Williams' delayed return from space. ISRO chief Dr. S. Somnath and Indian origin astronaut Sunita Williams. Indian Space Research Organization's chief S. Somnath has assured that the delayed return of Indian origin astronaut Sunita Williams from the International Space Station should not be a worrying issue, as the space station is a safe place for people to stay for a long time. Now going towards the economy of the country from the banking and finance point of view, growth in private corporate sector sales moderated to 4.7% in financial year 2024, Reserve Bank of India data shows. And the physical ended March 31, 2024 operating profit margin improved across the major sectors during 2023-2024. It stood at 14.4%, 22.4% and 22.7% for manufacturing, non-IT services and IT companies respectively. In 2023-2024, sales of automobiles, electric machinery, and pharmaceuticals industries remained buoyant, but the manufacturing sector's overall performance was mainly dragged by chemicals and petroleum industries. Annual sales growth rate of listed private non-financial companies slowed to 4.7% in the financial year 2023-2024 from 19.8% in financial year 2023, the Reserve Bank of India data showed. In the physical ended March 31st, 2024, operating profit margin improved across the major sectors during 2023-2024. It stood at 14.4%, 22.4% and 22.7% for manufacturing, non-IT services and companies respectively. On the expenditure front, easing input cost pressure and pressures and low sales growth kept the overall main expenses on raw materials by manufacturing companies in financial year 2024 unchanged from the physical year 2023. The data showed staff costs rose by 10.8%, 6.6% and 15.6% year-on-year during 2023 for manufacturing, IT and non-IT service companies respectively. Headline is FSIB recommends SETI for State Bank of India chairperson post. State Bank of India's current chairman Dinesh Kumar Khara is retiring on August 28 when he turns 53. SBI current chairman Dinesh Kumar Khara is retiring on August 28 when he returns to 63. He was given an extension in the October 2023. Khara was appointed the chairman of State Bank of India on October 7, 2020. From the business point of view, the chips per stardom, Taiwan's triumphs and perils that come with it. Taiwan just got a new president in Lai Ching-te in May. And there is growing concern and apprehension on how the relationships evolves between the newly elected Lai administration and Taiwan's highest legislative body and the legislative yuan. The executive legislative dynamic and sharply differing views over the lurking reform aiming to tweak the powers of the legislature were at the heart of the latest series of brawls among the lawmakers on May 17. Now going towards the world news, including wounded Sri Lankan mercenaries are reluctant to return from Russia, take Russian citizenship. Joe Biden makes appeals to donors as the concerns persist over his presidential debate performance. France to vote in election that could put far right in the government. United Kingdom Prime Minister Rishi Sunak seeks blessings at the London's Eastern Temple on Campion Trail on London. A string of United States Supreme Court decisions hit us hard at environmental rules. 7 deaths by horse drug overdose surge in western New York. According to Science and Tech, we have what was that doesn't work. Covaxin IPR explained. Story so far, the maker of the indigenous coronavirus vaccine, Covaxin, Bharat Biotech International Limited BBIL, has admitted to an inadvertent error in a patient filings to protect the vaccine's intellectual property rights (IPR). One of the India's leading biotechnology companies, it had failed to include scientists from the Indian Council of Medical Research (ICMR) as co-inventors in the Covaxin patent findings. Chasing an eclipse on Concorde. A total eclipse of the sun on June 30, 1973, as seen from aboard luxury oceaneer Canberra, floating in the Atlantic off the west coast of Africa near Mauritania. While ground observers could get over 7 minutes of totality at the best, those aboard the Concorde managed over 70 minutes. Do you know who an umbrophile is? Literally meaning shadow lover. The word is used to describe a person who loves eclipses. Umbrophiles often travel to witness these eclipses, even planning years in advance to be at the right place at the right time. They are also called the eclipse chasers, as a term that nicely encapsulates what they actually do during an eclipse. For some in astronomy, chasing an eclipse is normal. The larger the duration of the eclipse, the better for them, as it affords them more opportunity to learn about the phenomena and what goes on during the eclipse. On June 30, 1973, a total solar eclipse took place with the path of the totality passing through the breadth of America. While it was already on the longer side, with the observers on the ground capsule of getting a maximum of 7 minutes and 4 seconds of totally, astronomers were always looking to maximize it further if possible. The idea. In 1972, an idea occurred to Paris observatory astronomer Pierre Lena. Why not use a supersonic Concorde to essentially raise the solar eclipse across the face of the Earth? British astronomer John Beckman had independently arrived at the same time, but had not been able to get any necessary permissions. Lena pitched his idea to French test pilot Henri Turcat over the lunch at the restaurant inside the Toulouse airport. Impressed with what he had heard, Turcat took the idea to his bosses at Aerospatiale. While it was provisionally approved and they agreed to cover the cost of the mission, it was not until February 1973 that they received their final go-ahead. Instam's fabric offers protection from pesticides. The fabric deactivates the pesticides and breaks it down into non-toxic products. Researchers at the Institute for Stem Cell Science and Regenerative Medicine INSTEM in Bengaluru have developed an anti-insecticide fabric that effectively neutralizes organophosphate-based pesticides. It was as it in an earlier work published about 6 years ago. The team had developed a gel for a topical dermal application to deactivate the pesticides, but considering that compliance might be poor, the researchers looked at another alternative that is an effective in deactivating the insecticide, but at the same time does not reduce compliance. India lacks diagnostic tests for emerging infectious diseases. A recent case of the Zika virus infection in Pune has renewed concerns about India's preparedness for the diagnosing emerging infectious disease. After experiencing symptoms like fever and rashes, the 46-year-old doctor was hospitalized and diagnosed with Zika virus infecting after his samples were sent for testing to the Apex Virology Institute. Subsequent testing of his family members revealed that his 15-year-old daughter was also infected. This is not first time Zika has been identified in India. Cases have been identified from multiple states in India in the past, with larger outbreaks occurring in Kerala and Uttar Pradesh as recently as 2021. Indian Institute of Science researchers develop engineered biocatalyst for the making drop in biofuels. According to Indian Institute of Science, given the finite availability and polluting nature of the fossil fuels, Scientists are increasingly exploring sustainable fuel pathways that involve compounds called hydrocarbons in the Institute of Science, Bangalore. According to the Indian Institute of Science, given the finite availability and polluting nature of the fossil fuels, scientists are increasingly exploring sustainable fuel pathways that involve compounds called hydrocarbons. Researchers at the Department of the Inorganic and Physical Chemistry (IPC) Indian Institute of Science have developed an enzymatic platform that can efficiently transform naturally abundant and inexpensive fatty acids to valuable hydrocarbons called first alkanes, which are promising biofuels. According to the Indian Institute of Science, given the finite availability and polluting nature of fossil fuels, scientists are increasingly exploring sustainable fuel pathways that involve compounds called hydrocarbons. They show a great potential as a drop-in biofuels which can be blended in and used with the existing fuels and infrastructure. These hydrocarbons can potentially be synthesized on a large scale using microorganism factories. Enzymes that help mass produce these hydrocarbons are therefore highly sought after. Hydrocarbons are also widely used in the polymer, detergent, and lubricant industries, Indian Institute of Science said. In the current study published in Science Advances, the team circumvented this challenge by adding another enzyme called the catalyze to the reaction mix. The catalyze degrades the H2O2 that is produced. Adding catalyze enhanced the activity of the enzyme 19-fold from 14 to 265 turnovers. Turnover indicates the number of the active cycles an enzyme completes before getting inactivated. Abhishek Bal was the first author of the study and PhD student at IPC. Study finds rising prevalence of type 2 diabetes in the young in the South India. Obesity and a family history of diabetes were found to be the primary contributing factors for a rise in prevalence. Obesity and family history of diabetes were found to be the primary contributing factor for a rise in the prevalence. A study has found a high percentage increase in the prevalence of type 2 diabetes among younger individuals than in older individuals in the southern India. Over a period of 10 years, obesity and a family history of diabetes were found to be the primary contributing factors for the rise in the prevalence. A team of doctors led by A. Ramachandran of India Diabetes Research Foundation and Dr. A. Ramachandra's Diabetes Hospital studied the prevalence and incidence of type 2 diabetes and associated risk factors in a younger individual aged between 20 and 39 years and older individuals aged 40 and above over a 10-year period 2006 to 16. They have published the findings of the study in an article, Rising Prevalence of Type 2 Diabetes Among the Young in the Southern India. An ancillary analysis of the secular trends in the diabetes in India. Stride first study in the Journal of Diabetes. At last there is a famous quotation said by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, whose full name was Ul Pakir Jainuddin Abdul Kalam, birth anniversary 15 October 1931. Up to 27th of July 2015, was an Indian aerospace scientist statesman who served as the 11th President of India from 2002 to 2007. Born and raised in a Muslim family in Rameshwaram, Tamil Nadu, he studied physics and aerospace engineering. He spent the next 4 decades as a scientist and a science administrator, mainly at the Defense Research and Development Organization (DRDO) and Indian Space Research Organization (ISRO), and was intimately involved in Indian civilian space program and military missile development efforts. He thus came to be known as the Missile Man of India for his work on the development of ballistic missile and launch vehicle technology. He also played a pivotal organizational, technical, and a political role in the India's Pokhran second nuclear test in 1998. The first is the original nuclear test by India in 1974. Kalam was elected as the 11th President of the India in 2002 with the support of both the ruling party, Janata Party, and the then opposition Indian National Congress, widely referred to as the People's President. He returned to his civilian life of education, writing, and public service after a single term. He was a recipient of the several prestigious awards, including the Bharat Ratna, India's highest civilian honor. While delivering a lecture in the Indian Institute of Management, Shillong, Kalam collapsed and died from an apparent cardiac arrest on 27th of July 2015. Aged 83. Thousands, including national level dignitaries, attended the funeral ceremony held in his hometown of Rameshwaram, where he was buried with the full state honors. Mr. Kalam says a famous quotation. He says that if you want to shine like a sun, first burn like a sun. Okay, thank you.